So this is a pivotal module in terms of understanding the entire DevOps thing. Here we look at the DevOps cycle. And here we can see what is now a famous diagram with regards to DevOps. But before I dive into this, I want to really lay down some foundations in terms of your understandings of application software. So a few key programming concepts that are going to be critical before we move on into this whole idea of DevOps. Once you've got this under your belt, the rest is relatively straightforward. And it is this. Application software. Well, we all know what this is. Complete products are what you perceive to be application software. So things like Microsoft Word, Facebook, Instagram, and Outlook. You already know of these as being complete working software products. But I'm now going to introduce you to the concept of these applications as not really being single lumps of homogeneous code. Think of applications from now on as actually being built up in units of code. So each of these large applications you should really think of as being smaller units of code, smaller components working together to form that large major application. So large enterprise applications like these are not one large mass of code, they're actually an assembly of smaller code pieces. And each of these smaller units of code is created by development teams or individual developers, and they will then bring these units of code to work together. Now that's important. The analogy might be something like the building of a mighty house or a beautiful mansion. Now, the house, of course, consists of many subcomponents. This house is layers and layers of actually different systems and components working together. So if you think about electrical systems, plumbing systems, the brickwork, the timber work, the application, the appliances, all of these need to all come together to form that final unit called the house. Now, of course, all of these components will have been built by different teams, and in the end, they need to mesh perfectly together. So the kitchen cabinets could have come from Italy, but the appliances might have come from Germany. However, they may all need to be shipped over to the UK, and they'll need to work on a UK-based electrical supply network. The individual components, of course, are first created at source, but then they have to be brought together and they need to be integrated with each other. Now, that needs a fair amount of testing as well, so they have to be tested thoroughly to see how they work not just on their own, but with each other in a final build environment, before they finally are given over to the end user, who will just enjoy the whole system. Now, if you get that analogy, this is going to help you tremendously when it comes to understanding the whole DevOps concept. Because so it is with applications. Firstly, we build units of code. The individual developer of that unit might think it's pretty good, but then they'll put it out there and make sure that it's ready for others to see and test as well. Others will integrate this with their piece of code, their unit of code. And finally, we will put all the units of code together, for example, the entire working house in our analogy, and then finally, after that, we will launch it into the production environment. Let the end customer have the keys to the end product. But wait. What if the customer, having come back from holiday and seen your new creation, their new house, they've just realized that the new car they bought doesn't fit into the garage anymore because it's too small. The user's needs have changed. So now they simply must have a new garage or a bigger garage, or that they now simply must have this new voice-activated control system to manage the appliances around the house because all of their friends have this new system. We will then need to bring back some of the components in this house to be readjusted for the user and then put back into the environment and also tested again to see how they work together. So there's this continuous state of flux where the user changes their mind and we then need to bring back the components, readjust them, and retest them again, how they work together. You see where this is going. But what if the entire process of build, adjust, rebuild, and retest was always built into our model, almost assuming that change was going to be inevitable? What if your development process was built upon that idea? Remember, the project lifecycle assumes you build it, you release it, and then you're done with it. But life isn't like that. So there you have it. That's the foundation of DevOps. Unlike project lifecycle, it never assumes that a software is some static final masterpiece that works first time and will never require change again. DevOps takes the Agile approach and assumes that the components should be built in small iterations, and they'll be tested as they go along and retested. But it adds another element to the Agile approach. Let's take a deeper look at this diagram.